On this video, we're going to be discussing how you can generate over 6 figures in your early 20s. So if you're interested in that, make sure to stick around for the rest of this video. Hey, what's up guys? Nick Rappless here, and this is my good buddy, Sean Gray. So pumped to have him here. We're gonna get a lot into his story, but as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, that Sean was actually able to do multiple 6 figures by the time he was 22 years old. And so we're gonna get a lot into his story. He's a master networker. He's incredible at sales, and he does it in a very efficient, effective, but more and ethical way. There's a lot of bad connotation associated with sales, but he's learned from some of the masters like Robert Kiyosaki, and we're gonna get into the complete story, but I just wanted to welcome in the homie, Sean Gray. Appreciate you having me.
Thanks, brother. Glad to be here. No, this is cool. Love it.
Yeah, so last time I made a video, I put it on my YouTube channel, put it on my Instagram. People seem to enjoy it. They like the conversation back and forth, and I just figured it'd be a cool way to connect and make some different style content, show off my personality a little bit, show off other people's personality, their skill sets, so my audience can learn more from them, and again, just make it a win-win for everyone involved. So we had a few technical difficulties on the last one, so we're seeing if we can fix those, but I think it looks good. We'll see what happens. But yeah, man, I know we've talked a little bit, but first of all, I just kind of like to hear your story. I know you had, in your early 20s, you really had a profound experience in terms of your growth and your income. I'd like to hear a little bit more about that, and then we can dive into more about what you're focused on nowadays, and really what makes you tick as a person and an entrepreneur.
For sure, man. Yeah, I know we've talked a bunch, but you know, I like to say that when I got out of college, I was 22 without a clue. You know, and it's an expression that I use, and it's not really has anything to do. I mean, some people are 35 without a clue. Some people are, 18 without a clue, looking for, hey, I know there's more out there. I know there's a different way. I know I don't want to sit in a cubicle. I don't want to, I want to have the freedom in my life, right? I didn't know what I wanted when I got out of school, but I knew what I didn't want, and I felt like my whole life up until that point was scripted for me, whether it was school, sports, religion, just on a track, constantly told where to go, how to dress, when to be there, when I could leave, how long my bathroom break, everything's scripted for you, right? Mm-hmm. And I hated it. I don't know if you guys are anything like me or you're anything like me, but I hate being told what to do. And when I was young and more immature, I would, if you told me not to do something, I would just go and do it simply because you said not to. No, I moved past that kind of immature motive to act. But yeah, I was 22 without a clue. Everything up until that point in my life of getting out of school was scripted for me. And for the first time in my life, when I graduated school, it was like, poof, I was floating in space. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And for the first time, I didn't have a roadmap to follow. I had to figure it out on my own. Now, most people get out of school and that's a scary time for them, because it's like, you're wide-eyed looking at the world like there's so many things I can do, mm-hmm. But I have no real-world experience. I have hardly any skills, and I have no idea if what I want to do is actually what I want to do, because I haven't tried it yet, mm-hmm. right? And so what most people do is they ask themselves a question, and they say, what do I do to make money, right? Mm-hmm. And it makes money the end goal, right? As you know, our minds are powerful. They'll solve the problem we give it, right? It makes money the end goal, and it makes doing something, exchanging your time and effort, as the means to get there, right? Mm-hmm. So my mentor came to me and he said, Sean, you're at a point right now in your life where a lot of people make long-term commitments and end up trapping themselves, and because they're uncomfortable in that kind of free-floating space for the first time in their life, they latch on to somebody else's system, right? AKA go get a job, right? And plug right back into that structure where everything's scripted for them. Mm-hmm. So my mentor challenged me to ask a better question, and he said, instead of what can I do to make money, ask yourself, what can I build that will afford me the lifestyle I want to live, right? So the difference is now lifestyle is the end goal, right? And building something is how you're getting there, as opposed to doing something, right? Mm-hmm. Sure, both require work, but one requires work in the beginning. You set up systems and processes and put a business model around it. You reap the benefits of that moving forward. So Yeah, I got out of school. I was 22 without a clue. Fortunate to have a mentor come along and ask me that question. And then I went to work on it, you know, and what I realized that I wanted was freedom. I wanted to be able to do what I wanted, when I wanted, how I wanted, with who I wanted.
Yeah.
You know? And so I said, okay, if freedom's that end goal, then what's the fastest path to that? Well, I gotta have financial freedom, right? Have passive income, right? More money coming in than going out, right? With me not having to exchange my time and effort for it, right? And I said, okay, well, if passive income is the fastest path to freedom, then what's the fastest path to passive income, right? Because I wanted that lifestyle sooner rather than later, right? And you know, the fastest path to passive, I looked around at who was successful, who was the best, who had that, what I wanted, and they had done it through business and real estate. And I said, okay, well, I knew from sports, you know, my whole life, you want to be the best, you got to surround yourself with the best. So I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, a little purple book. I'm sure you know you've read it. A lot of people have read it. Changed a lot of people's lives.
Yep.
Changed my life, and it sent me on a journey. I said, okay, well, this guy's on. You know, he's the best at this. #1 best-selling financial author of all time. This book just changed my life. So I spent tons of money and time and effort my first year out of college, going to every single trade show, workshop, conference, seminar, retreat that I could find where those guys were going to be. And I went to work on developing a relationship with them, trying to add value to them. You know, it all kind of started transpiring from there. But when I got out of school, it was definitely 22 without a clue, lost and confused. And after being in the real world, following my mentors around, you know, I was able to build streams of income around the life that I wanted to live.
Cool. I like all that, and it's interesting because I didn't know a lot of that. So thanks for sharing all that, and obviously, you know, more people are going to hear it. There's a few things that I heard that I'd like to dive a little bit deeper on. I'm a big fan of educating yourself. It sounds like you are as well, and I think that's kind of where it all starts. Would you agree?
100%. Yeah, and I think the education starts at the awareness, right? The awareness of, hey, I want something different, I want something more, I know there's something more, you know?
Yeah, because in my opinion, I just see so many people out there today not happy with their life. They're not making the money, they're not having the lifestyle that they truly want, and they just kind of sit there and say, I don't know how to do anything, I don't this, that. Well, just like what you shared with us, you did everything that you could, and it sounds like you really dove in, and I'm a big fan of that, and that's kind of my style too. But what I would just advise to anybody out there is, no matter what it is, it starts with something, just like what you shared. It started with the book. You can go buy a $10, $20 book, right? It all starts with something, and just start building on that. So yeah, that's incredible, man. What would you say, because I know this is a question I hear a lot, and I hear a lot of people mention, I mentioned that I have mentors as well. What would you say to someone that doesn't necessarily have a mentor and is looking to get one?
That's a really good question. So there's a process that I use for this. I call it strategic relationship building, because obviously, you know, you want to be the best, you have to surround yourself with the best, right? If you want to be the best car mechanic, you're not going to go spend your time with, you know, Joe Schmo down the street who works on his car once a month. Right, you're gonna go find that fast and furious guy who did all those cars, and right, and you want to be around the best. So, I think the first thing, and what you were talking about earlier, how people complain a lot, don't have the lifestyle they want. A lot of people don't know what they want. A lot of people aren't even aware of it. They don't even have clarity on that. And something my mentor told me all the time growing up was, with clarity of vision, strategy and tactics become self-evident. All right. So, what was your question again?
No,
But the reason
I kind of lost that. But
mentor.
Yeah, mentor. But I did want to ask one just right away because I thought that was a really good point. Now I lost it. Shit.
It's because we're like Kanye, right? Our mind's not linear. We thinking in all these esoteric ways. There's so many different ways to go with it.
Yeah. Damn it! I really had a good question.
I remember what I was going to say to your question, because I remember your question, so maybe it'll spark it. How to find a mentor, how to connect with a mentor. One is identifying what it is that you want to do, right? What it is that you want to be, what it is that you want to have, right? Not necessarily in that order, but you know, if you want to be a real estate investor, Okay, well, who's the best real estate investors around? All right, if you want to be a race car driver, it doesn't matter what it is, but identify who it is or what it is, then identify who that person is the best. And then the next question to ask yourself is, where do they congregate, right? Whether online or offline, right? Because relationships get built in person or in communities, right? Interaction, that's how relationships get built. So who is the best? Where do they congregate? And a lot of times to get to the best, like a lot of people want that relationship, it's hard to get to though, right? So identifying who the influencer of that person is, right? Because you're not always gonna, if I wanna get to Kanye right now, right? I feel like you're always only a few degrees of separation, especially in the age of technology. But if I wanted to work with Kanye, I just brought him up. So that's why I brought him up in this example. But I would, obviously I'm not gonna be able to send Kanye a message in his DM and he's gonna hit me back, right?
What up, Sean?
Yeah, exactly.
I've been waiting for you.
Yeah, exactly. That's not gonna happen like that. But if I know that Kanye is working on a project and that's really important to him, and I know that, you know, I don't know, you can through identifying where they hang out with and watching them and studying them, you can find out what their needs are, what their goals are, what their wants are, what their desires are. And you don't even have to be the one to fill that thing. You could just be a recommendation for filling that thing, and that's almost just as valuable. But being able to position yourself as somebody of value is, I think, really important in building those relationships. So in terms of figuring out how to find a mentor and how to connect with that mentor, one is identifying them. Two is, where do they congregate? Where do they spend their time? Spend your time in there, observe them, engage with as much of their content as possible, and you're going to start to realize what's important to them. And then when you realize what's important to them, when you have 3 to 5, you know, things, their needs, wants, goals, or desires, then you go to work on fulfilling those things. And either whether you can through your skills and through your knowledge and through your network, great, or whether you have to introduce them to somebody else. Either way, that's still value. But again, you know, if you can't get to Kanye, who's the decision maker, or who's the influencer of him? If you can't get to that person, who's the influencer of that influencer? You might have to go a few degrees down and start building those relationships.
I like that a lot. Very strategic networking, and
Yeah.
that's what you were mentioning before. So it's cool to have a fine example of what that is. That's very powerful, because when I started doing my thing online, I kind of came from a different space, because I was all about hiding behind the computer, doing my pressing the little buttons, running ads, you know, this, that, and so on, and making money.
Yeah.
And I kind of wanted to live that life for a while, and I did live that life for a while, but I found that there was a cap on that, and it truly wasn't fulfilling. And oops, I'll edit that out. And it truly wasn't fulfilling either. And so over the past, I would say 3-4 years, I've really made a point to network, and it's helped me live a much more fulfilling life. I get to meet cool people like you and just all the other people that are around me, and it really fills up your life a lot more, fills up your cup a lot more, and it's amazing to be around people and be winning with people.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you bring that up, and I love that, because I have heard things of that nature before, but I probably haven't heard it to the degree that you just explained it. I did think of my question that I had. So you're talking about, okay, you identify who's this person that you want to connect with. Here's a question, is that, because I went through this as well, and I'm sure a lot of people go through that. A lot of people just don't know what they want. How do you figure that out?
Yes, so this was something I was going to go into earlier, so I'm glad you asked that, because it's a result of asking good questions. And that's something I always preach. It's like the biggest part of my message. If you want great answers, you have to ask great questions. It's kind of like what we started this out. The question that most people get out of school and ask themselves is, what do I do to make money? They're going to solve that question, but it's the wrong question to ask, right? Versus, what can I build that will afford me the lifestyle I want to live? So in terms of figuring out what it is that you want, you have to ask yourself those questions. You have to ask yourself some hard questions, but not surface level questions of what do I want, right? Or what do I want to do? Because both of those things aren't the leading factor. We don't do and then have and then become, right? We become, then out of that person that we become, we start doing things that that person would naturally do, and as a result, we get the things that that person would naturally get. Most people approach that completely backwards, though.
So it's be, do, have?
Be, do, have versus have, do, be.
Yeah.
Right?
Then that's a great point, because I love that when you're, say, ask yourself good questions. What do I want? But I see so many people saying, oh, well, I want to travel. I want to be an influencer. So, yeah, how do you really get to the core of stuff that really lights you up, and then therefore you do become, then therefore you do, and then you have?
So, I mean, not to get too spiritual on you and go deep, I know we often have these conversations, but every religion talks about it, every civilization throughout history has talked about it, and Jesus says you have to lose yourself to find yourself, right? And that's what we're talking about here. I don't even know what I want. I don't even know what feels good to me. I don't even know what I resonate with. I don't even know who I am. Why am I here? Like, some of those really hard questions. Like, when I'm on my deathbed looking back on life, what do I want to have accomplished? What do I want to be proud of? You know? And really, who's the person I want to become? I think... I lost what I was going to say too.
Damn, we keep losing it. We can continue if it comes back to you.
Yeah, it'll come back to me, I'm sure.
So here's another question is...
What was the question?
I keep forgetting everything. We're just so deep in thought. But, well, the question was how do I figure out what I really want?
Yes, I know where I was going with that.
Okay,
and the reason why I brought that up, you have to lose yourself to find yourself, is because you have these ideas of things that you want. And I posted this not too long ago. I said, do you even want what you really, do you even really want what you say you want? Right? Because most people think they want something, but they don't explore the motive behind that. And I think why is the question to ask over and over again, is why. Okay, well, I want a lot of money. Well, why do you want a lot of money? Well, I want a lot of money because, I want the good life. Okay, well, why do you want the good life? Well, I want to be able to travel. Why do you want that stuff? Well, because I never was able to have that stuff growing up. Okay, well, why is that important to you? And if you ask why enough, you get to the root of, okay, well, here's actually why, and money's not even the thing that's going to solve that. This is the real issue, right? So I feel like pulling back those layers of the onion to figure out what the core is, and you have to go inside. And so the answer to your question, I believe, is losing yourself. Right? You have to go into that isolation. You have to get rid of all the attachments that you have in order to really know the truest essence of who you are and what you're about.
Yeah, that's great. Continue to ask yourself why. That's been a thing that I've actually had conversations with friends about, especially some friends that are asking me, what do I want to do? And I tell them that. And I believe it was Bob Proctor. Are you pretty familiar with him?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. Because I would say he's pretty close in with Robert Kiyosaki. Is that good?
He's more personal development. I'd say Robert's more financial education.
Okay.
But I mean, definitely that wave of thought leaders.
And I think Bob Proctor has this technique or strategy. It's real simple. Basically, follow the trail of whys. And usually if you ask yourself why at least 7 times, you come to the core.
Yes.
But here's my question, and again, I just keep on getting a little bit deeper into this. So I believe at the end of the day, everyone just wants to be happy. I know it's cliche, but that's true. Like, you ask it enough. I want to travel. Why? Okay, I want to have the freedom. Okay, why do you want the freedom? I want to help my family. Okay, why do you want to help your family? Because it makes me feel good. Okay, why do you want to feel good?
Yeah.
I want to be happy. At the end of the day. So I think when people ask it long enough and they get to that and they say, I just want to be happy. How do you correlate that to something that they actually can do and create a business or create something so that feeds their happiness?
Yeah, well, there's a lot there, and there's a few different ways I can go. I'm going to try to remember everything I want to say to that. But I think that so many different ways to go with it. Can you ask it again?
So So I'm just saying, like, once they figure out they truly just want to be happy, how do you figure out what you want to do?
Yeah.
Like, you ask yourself the good questions, you lose yourself, you go through all that, and you're just like, yeah, I want to be happy, I want to have amazing relationships, I want to help my family out, I want everyone around me to have a great life, and feel good and be happy.
Yeah.
At that point, okay, we've lost ourselves, we've gone through all that, how do I really figure out what I want to do?
Yes. So there's a few things. One thing I think is rapid experimentation. I think you learn through experiences. It's like, you're bouncing off these walls and you're trying different things. Oh, that didn't work. This way didn't work, and that gets narrower and narrower and narrower until you're streamlined. Until you can, you found your groove, you found your lane, right? And that just takes time. That takes experiences. What a lot of people don't do, they're not willing to fail, so they don't go out and have those experiences, so they never really figure it out, right? So I think I'm a huge advocate for traveling, because your perspective gets bigger. When your perspective gets bigger, your opportunities get bigger. I'm a huge fan for trying as many different things as possible, right? Like, whatever those passions are, just explore them, try them, fail at them, right? The other thing, I think you're right, because I think it was Socrates who basically sat around and watched people all day and said the purpose of why anybody does anything is to be happy, to increase their happiness. I think there is a distinction. Now, this is just me personally, but I think there's a distinction between happiness and fulfillment. I think that happiness is fleeting. I think that fulfillment is lasting.
Okay.
Now, there's happiness in fulfillment, obviously, but I don't know if there's always fulfillment in happiness.
Gotcha.
So, I think money can buy happiness personally. Like, I've had a lot of money and I've bought a lot of fun experiences. Were they fulfilling? Did it last? No. But I was happy,
Yeah.
Maybe it's joy, I don't know, maybe it's something else, but...
I like that. I do, because that is something I had been teetering on, because I come back to the fact that I think everyone wants to be happy, but some people say, well, I like watching this Netflix show, it makes me happy. So should someone just keep doing that and that they're happy and they keep on living their life? Eventually, at a point, they're not happy because it's not fulfilling. So would you say it's all about fulfillment in life?
I'd say it's about fulfillment, and I would also say, that's not what I said, but Albert Einstein quoted, and it's one of my favorite quotes, and it's really at the core of a big part of my philosophy, and something I discovered through losing myself, through some of the stuff that we've talked about, like going and living in the jungle and turning off all the technology and whatnot. That's a whole other story. But
another episode.
Yeah. But Albert Einstein said that all arts, sciences, religions, vocations are branches of the same tree. To ennoble a man's life beyond the sphere of mere physical existence and move him towards personal freedom. So I personally think that there's levels to freedom. There's social freedom, I think there's financial freedom, I think there's personal freedom. Personal freedom is, I think, what every person's calling is. It's what they're after. That's what they're searching for. We're basically saying the same thing, that fulfillment, that personal liberation from all of the worry and all the limiting beliefs, and just that peace, that heaven on earth, that nirvana, whatever religion you want to refer to, but that fulfillment. And people, it's hard to have thoughts of personal freedom when you're in a not a socially free place, when you're worried about bombs getting dropped on you, or you can't go outside without covering up your face, or you're a woman in some places and can't work. You know what I mean? There's parts of the world that are very, like I've told you, we're white males, and so in America, which is pretty socially free as it gets.
Yeah.
But same thing with financial freedom. People think, and I went through this, where I thought financial freedom was going to be fulfilling. I thought making a bunch of money was going to be the thing that I was like, finally I can just chill. I'm at peace. Everything's okay. And then I just started making a bunch of money, and I was like, something's missing. That fulfillment was missing. And so it's hard to have, but it was hard to have thoughts of personal freedom when you're struggling to put food on the table, when you're struggling to keep the lights on, right? So I think there's level to it, but I agree. I think everybody's searching for that personal liberation. Yeah,
I love that. We're getting deep, probably a deeper conversation than I've ever put on this, but so I love all that.
But here's the thing: you can't separate personal growth from success in business. It's you can't compartmentalize life. So
Sure.
it may be deeper, but if the ones whoever is willing to take this and, you know, really think on it, I think they're going to have more success in business.
Yeah, 100%. I know that ever since I went down a more of a spiritual path, it's definitely helped my business. And again, well, not again, but something I really live by is how you do anything is how you do everything.
Mm-hmm.
You go all out in your business, you go all out in your spirituality, you go out in your friendships, your relationships, or you dip your toes in all that.
Right.
It's always, it's never, you're never like all in on one thing and then typically.
Right.
I mean, it always can change from person to person. I've had debates with friends about this, but I think generally speaking, how you do anything is how you do everything. So one thing I want to come back to, I love how you talked about the rapid experimentation,
Mm-hmm.
and I was hoping you would answer it that way because I definitely feel that way too, because I went through definitely a progression where I started with affiliate marketing. I had an Instagram growth agency. I did Facebook and Instagram ads for a while, and then I feel like I really found my calling with running YouTube ads. It speaks to me, and there's a deeper reason behind it. I've shared it on my channel here. So what I'm getting to is the fact that I tried so many different things, and unless I went through all those, I never would have found out. It's just like we talk about peeling back the layers of the onion. So I'm curious, the fact that you had so much success early on, do you think that's to the fact that, did you find your thing right away pretty early, or did you go through a lot of different experimentations?
So I think that my thing was on my heart early on, and I danced all around it multiple times, and you know, I tried to manifest the fulfillment through different business ventures, and I didn't find it in a lot of different ventures. You know, I failed at a lot of things. So I mean, I think rapid experimentation is the answer, because you learn about yourself every time you fail. I'm not sure if that answered your question.
Yeah, I'll just, because I think outside looking in, and even just from my perspective, I'm like, oh damn, 22, hitting multiple six figures, he probably figured his stuff out pretty quickly. So, but the thing I would probably say after the answer you just told me is that you failed very quickly.
Yes.
And I think that's a mark of a true successful person, because yeah, maybe some people can go out there and get lucky and literally the first thing they try is what they absolutely love, their heart's in it, they invest everything into it, their time, money, energy, and they're just lucky.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say for the most part, that doesn't happen too often, and it's just how quickly are you willing to fail, and are you willing to fail?
Right.
Because a lot of us have this ego where we struggle with failure. And I get it, because there's certain things I don't like looking bad at. I'm like,
right.
I'm supposed to be good at this, right? Especially to yourself and to your whoever, friends around you. But I think the quicker that you can drop that, and that, honestly, even lately, I feel like I'm certainly okay to fail. I'm okay to say I don't know this answer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fine with, you know, looking like a fool at this, because I know that it's leading to growth. And you know, there's a story that I heard recently. Is talking about the baby chicken trying to get out of the egg. Have you heard this one?
Mm-hmm.
It's really cool, because you know, a lot of times we think about the struggle as a bad thing, and you know, you're failing and you're struggling, and it's, you know, your ego's being hurt.
Right.
But think about this: a baby chicken's trying to get out of an egg, and it's chirping away, or it's, you know, chipping at the egg, and then it's almost getting out. And what if someone were to come by and just break it? Oh, little chicken, here, I'll help you. Break it open. That little chick comes out a few days later, maybe a few weeks later. That chicken dies because they don't have the capabilities to survive in life, because they don't have the strength.
Right.
The struggle is the success.
Yes.
Because unless that baby chicken learns how to fight its way out of the egg, it will die, because it was crippled by someone else. And I think that's very important that we continue to remind ourselves that the struggle is part of the process, and that's what's ultimately going to lead to it. And so I'm glad that you shared that like you went through a lot of stuff, because outside looking in, it felt like, you know, you just found something really quick and then you just had success.
Oh yeah, and I had a lot of friends hating on me for that. But I love that analogy of the chicken. I forgot what I was gonna say again.
You're good, man. So I've been keeping, well, the only other one I did was right around 20 minutes. I'd say we're probably getting close to there, so we can wrap up unless there's anything else real important that you wanted to share. But I did have one question. I feel like I'm going to start ending all my conversations with this.
Tonight